Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Rachel Burden and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. All travellers arriving in the UK from Monday will have to quarantine as the government closes all so-called travel corridors to prevent new strains entering the country.
Tougher lockdown restrictions come into force in Scotland to tackle what's been described as a very serious situation.
100 million vaccines in 100 days, the ambitious target set out by Joe Biden when he becomes President of the United States.
Good morning. A captain's innings from Joe Root. He scores a double century as England open up a big lead over Sri Lanka in the first test.
Morning all. It's a messy start to our Saturday morning. A combination of rain, sleet and snow sweeping its way steadily east, but into the afternoon, sunny spells and scattered showers. All the details from me throughout the morning.
Morning, it's Saturday, the 16th of January. Our top story this morning. All travel corridors into the UK will be closed from Monday, the Prime Minister has announced.
The change means anyone travelling to the UK will need proof of a negative COVID test. They'll also need to isolate on arrival for at least 5 days. Charlotte Wright has this report.
Another measure to tighten up travel. This week saw passengers from South America and Portugal banned from flying into the UK to stop the spread of a new COVID strain from Brazil. But the government says it may be difficult to predict where new variants might come from, and so further action is needed.
To protect us against the risk of as yet unidentified new strains, we will also temporarily close all travel corridors from 0400 hours on Monday.
This latest announcement is not a travel ban. It introduces quarantine for passengers, no matter where they've flown from in the world. It means from Monday, anyone travelling to the UK will have to show a negative COVID test less than 72 hours before they depart. When they arrive, they must now self-isolate for 10 days, or pay for a COVID test on the 5th day. If it's negative, they can leave quarantine early. The policy also applies to the Eurostar and seaports, but not to those travelling within the UK or Ireland, or to some jobs like hauliers. Travel corridors were first introduced in the summer, allowing people to come to the UK from some countries with low COVID rates without having to quarantine on arrival.
Anybody else?
Described as a lifeline for the industry, they kept people going on holiday. Now many say they support the suspension, so long as it can be lifted later in the year.
We've had no revenue now effectively for 12 months, give or take a few months in the summer last year. If we're going to have an aviation sector coming out of this, we need to open up in the summer. We look forward to having conversations with the government about that. But for the here and now, we are absolutely clear that we will support the government.
I think the government needs a longer term plan for the airline industry. They've been hit time and time again, and they rightly have asked the government for support. They were promised support months ago, but that package hasn't been put in place.
The government says it has provided a comprehensive package of measures for the travel and tourism sector, including extending the furlough scheme, business rates relief and tax deferrals. It says it's committed to helping bring the sector back to full strength as soon as it's safe to do so. Charlotte Wright, BBC News.
Scotland's COVID restrictions are being tightened from today. Takeaway food and drink outlets can only serve customers via a hatch, and only shops selling essential items are allowed to offer click and collect. The changes are among 6 new rules announced by the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon earlier this week.
Police chiefs say that investigations have been compromised after thousands of fingerprint, DNA and arrest records were accidentally deleted from the national computer. A letter sent by the National Police Chiefs Council and seen by BBC News says the mistake might prevent officers from linking offenders to crime scenes. Policing Minister Kit Malthouse said officers are trying to recover the data.
A clinical trial involving 10,000 people in the UK has shown that using blood plasma as a treatment for coronavirus doesn't reduce deaths among hospital patients. Researchers say they're incredibly grateful to everyone who took part in the research, but that they're no longer seeking plasma donations. Final results of the study will be published soon.
The US President-elect Joe Biden has set out ambitious plans to vaccinate 100 million Americans within his first 100 days in office.
He made the pledge as his health chiefs warned that the COVID variant first detected in the UK could become the dominant strain in the US by March. Our North America correspondent Peter Bowes has this report.
In a city where officials believe 1 in 3 of its population has been infected with COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, there's a sense of urgency. Hospitals in Los Angeles are overwhelmed. Here, someone is dying from the virus every 8 minutes.
It's rough to see people who are really sick, and we have to tell them there's not much we can do. We can take you to the hospital, but to sit on these gurneys, it's not comfy.
The race is on to get as many people vaccinated as soon as possible. This is the car park at Dodger Stadium, the baseball venue in Los Angeles that's being transformed into the largest vaccination site in America. By the middle of next week, officials say at least 12,000 people a day will receive the COVID jab here. But it isn't enough.
We've got to increase the pace and distribution and the administration of these vaccines. The reality is we need to get these vaccines out of the freezer and we need to get them into people's arms.
This is a scene that's playing out around the country, around the world. But America's so-called Operation Warp Speed has failed to live up to its name, at least as far as distribution of the vaccine is concerned. Joe Biden says when he takes over from Donald Trump on Wednesday, he'll launch an ambitious plan to roll it out fast. He said efforts so far had been a dismal failure.
Our plan is as clear as it is bold. Get more people vaccinated for free. Create more places for them to get vaccinated. Mobilize more medical teams to get the shots in people's arms.
He's promising 100 million jabs in 100 days, 100 mass vaccination centres around the country, and mobile units to get into areas that are hard to reach. The president-elect also had a blunt warning for Americans. Things he said would get worse before they get better. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.